Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the miniseries Shogun 1980. So, this is a very interesting one. I got to use my katana prop, and the thing is, we are getting a new version of this in February of 2024 through FX/Hulu thing going on there. And I had seen this a little bit as I was younger and remembered, oh, this is kind of a cool, interesting thing. Let's kind of see what goes on with this. Now, I have my jacket because this has gone, this is a doozy. All right. And the thing is, I like that it explored pretty much right before the, Tokugawa shogunate. And there's names changed and everything kind of going on with this. However, this version that I have does not delineate into episodes like what I had read in the Wikipedia, because this thing, first disc is 2 hours and 50 minutes with no breaks or whatnot, so if you make your own, that's what you're going to have to do. Second disc is 3 hours, and the third disc is 3 hours and 17 minutes. So that's a hefty sumbitch to kind of get through and do things with. And I remember sometimes catching this being on and being rerun in kind of episodic formats. And the thing is, this needs those episodes and that editing. Because there's a lot of dead space in certain kind of things where it's like, oh, we've got these shots. Let's kind of see where this kind of goes. And then also certain subplots and everything just come out of fucking nowhere and then disappear off into the fucking night as if they just went, whoo. But I still derive some value from this because this was like a big one that kind of showcased Japanese, culture and history, even though, having gone through it, it's almost like a fourth grade report of what you would kind of just passingly learn, if that makes sense, because this is a weird thing. I do think that the miniseries format has its value, but this one did not showcase it well to me in what it tried to do with its material and how its timeline and content and everything kind of worked out with the runtime. Where it just kind of, strangely enough, it reminded me of streaming shit where they just kind of threw something and saw what kind of happened, which is kind of weird because Richard Chamberlain plays the main character we follow, pilot John Blackthorne, and we also get Toshiro Mifune, and he's a big prominent Japanese actor. When I was talking about the Onimusha series, they used his likeness for that, and he's also been in the Seven Samurai. They got pedigree on that, and the thing is, he's useful enough as Toranaga in this, but I kind of rather would have had them do stuff with just going through. This could have been like a Game of Thrones level shit with the political intrigue of what's going on around this era, around 1600 and everything. But we just get weird things, and that we need an outsider's perspective to kind of get us into this. There's this joke on The Big Bang Theory where they talk about how Indiana Jones was not really pivotal in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I could definitely go with John Blackthorne being almost useless in this, and only just around, and I don't even know how he's even really utilized to do anything with what's kind of going on, except for certain kind of big reveals. Well, not big reveals, but a big kind of one that you would have thought would have had more kind of an impact. So we pretty much get a rundown in the beginning of what's kind of going on at this time. Evidently, the Jesuits and the Portuguese have the most control over the Japans, and Blackthorne and his crew on the Dutch ship, the Erasmus, are tasked with getting to the Japans, going through, What is it? Magellan? They like go around South America. And the Portuguese are like, how the fuck did you get here? And they've pretty much been out for like 2 years or whatnot, and then they just pretty much crash land on Japan, and it's definitely follows the whole kind of culture clash. However, they really do not paint the Japanese in a very good light, and do more this like, they're savages, heathens, blah, 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 blah. Even though religion kind of takes a very important kind of role because of the clashing of the Protestants. Because Blackthorn is actually English, and they chartered him as a pilot, I guess, / navigator. And then he becomes the Japanese word Anjin-san throughout pretty much most of this. But we just get pretty much face value of like, oh, you're going to hell, oh, you're going to hell. And we don't even really get an examination of Buddhism or Shintoism or any kind of religion from the main kind of ones from Japanese, other than this lady, Mariko, who is a Christian Japanese. Let me see. Yeah. So we pretty much just get them like going back and forth, like, oh, you're going to hell, sinner, heretic, kind of shit going on back and forth, and no kind of, it's just very surface level caricature kind of stereotype kind of thing. Now, granted, I understand they've got to look at this from also the 1980s, but even then, I'm just like, this isn't really that interesting to watch. After you get pretty much the first interaction, you pretty much see what's kind of going on, and it pretty much gets played on repeat throughout the rest of the show. So his people get captured. We're, of course, getting into interesting kind of territory because Blackthorn doesn't speak Japanese, but yet one of the Jesuit priests does, and the thing is we don't get subtitles for what the people are saying in Japanese, which I think is an interesting one because it puts us within the same kind of context of John Blackthorn, and then like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Now, that's alright in the beginning, but he does learn Japanese enough throughout the rest of the series that I think we should have gotten to a point where subtitles were utilized. Maybe even to a point where he's able to call out inconsistencies that his translators do. Because the downside to this effect is that anytime Blackthorn needs to be in some place, somebody has to translate, be it the first Jesuit priest, Father Alvido as we get into an effect, Mariko as he gets in later on, and it's just like, okay, we gotta trust that this person's saying what they're saying, and it's a double-edged kind of sword, where it gets you more entrenched in the character's perspective of Blackthorn, but then you literally don't know what the fuck's going on with certain kind of things unless you're told by somebody else in the room. It makes for some weird kind of fucking watching. So we get everything kind of going on. We get this Omi kind of dude who gets pretty much into some beef with Blackthorn before it's completely dropped as he becomes pretty much ingratiated with Lord Toranaga. Because we see that because they start killing one of the people, and Blackthorn tells him, I piss on you and your country, and the dude pisses on him for the insult. But the thing that gets into the effect, because one of the people didn't bow to Omi at one point, and he chopped his head off, which starts to go into this kind of crazy thing where it's just reduced down to anytime someone in Japan loses face or gets dishonored or does something that's kind of a faux pas, they either have to kill themselves or be killed by their lord or feudal master. Now, I'm not saying that that does not happen, but that's literally most of the shit that fucking happens in here. This dude, random house dude, people are like committing seppuku almost like, not completely in a complete conga line, but you get lots of plot points that have to deal with this kind of thing. The only one that actually really works out in that kind of favor is Mariko, at a certain kind of instance, is tasked with bringing these people out, but Ishido, Lord Ishido of Osaka Castle, is not letting them leave. And so in order for her to kind of force his hand, she pretty much goes into an effect of saying that she has to commit seppuku and creates this whole kind of thing that she's going to do it. And it's hard because she's Christianized and doesn't follow the kind of beliefs that kind of go on with Buddhism and reincarnation and karma, even though she brings that up and does try and kind of meld the two. So suicide is definitely frowned upon in Christian religions, but yet it is not as... There's a different kind of viewpoint with what's going on in Buddhism and Shintoism and everything kind of in that kind of effect in the Japanese culture. It's not complete taboo because there's reincarnation, other kind of lives, all that kind of issue. So that's why it's not... It doesn't have the same kind of visceral reaction that like Blackthorn has at first before he even starts to kind of realize and understand it, even though we don't really get him to that kind of level. It's something that I wish they had expanded upon more instead of, oh, something went wrong, now they've got to commit seppuku. That's not how that works. Even the entire act of seppuku and like honor suicide is a very nuanced kind of topic within Japanese culture as well. I mean, I looked into it and studied it in a philosophy course in college about the kamikaze and what was kind of going on with that. And that's a whole different kind of issue. So there's a lot of different kind of nuances and everything that this show does not handle at all. It tries to condense things into the barest kind of form that it can handle, and then just kind of runs with it, and it just doesn't really kind of work. There are a lot of things that I wish they had delved into. The understanding of what's the difference between the Jesuits and the Protestants. We really don't even get that. Like, it's just like, fuck you, you're a heretic. Fuck you, asshole. Like, that's literally kind of what we get. We don't really get their kind of differences, their nuances, and I'm not talking about, like, in-depth one. I just don't want to have 9 hours of this shit where the biggest depth we get is that they're just shouting shit at each other. And then we just ignore, like we're in Japan and we just ignore the stuff that's actually customs, everything like that. It's just the barest kind of minimum kind of window dressing stuff to me. We also get Gimli from Lord of the Rings in here. Where are we going at? Give me cast. John Rhys Davies as the Portuguese pilot Vasco Rodrigues. Him and Blackthorn's relationship is kind of interesting, kind of a frenemy kind of relationship as they kind of help each other out. Rodrigo actually attempting to kill him in 2 kind of instances because of how powerful he's getting. Because the thing is, he gets brought up because he's got the Erasmus and he's got pretty much his logs to figure out how they kind of got to Japan, and Toranaga kind of like learns from him and is like just kind of keeps him as a pet and utilizes him as tools. The thing is, Blackthorn helps him kind of get out of Ishido's castle because you have to ask the Lord's permission, but he's like, fuck this shit, and is essentially trying to do his own kind of play and to become Shogun at the end because he believes that's his karma. And that's another kind of big aspect of the Japanese culture that is informing a lot of stuff. Karma and fate, and how he is fated to be here. He raises him to the Hashimoto, which is kind of like a trusted kind of advisor, before eventually he then saves him from an earthquake, and he tasks him and makes him a samurai, giving him lordship over other samurai, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, and it's pretty much just falling into his lap. We get that this is like creating certain tensions as Lord Yabu decides to betray Lord Toranaga to Ishido, and we get this whole kind of fight scene and everything. Mariko gets killed in an explosion. Oh god. Blackthorn's relationship with Mariko is one of the worst I have seen. Granted though, I did read the first Twilight book, and that is worse than this. I pretty much read that book to be able to be like, yeah, this, no. But the thing is, it's like a forbidden kind of love thing where they literally just auto-repeat shit. You know how in Game of Thrones, where Jon Snow towards the end was just saying, but my queen, all that kind of shit, and almost seemed like on auto repeat on shit, that shit is in full fucking force in here. It's like, oh god, I love you, but we can't be together. I love you, but I can't, we can't be together. We gotta stop fucking. Because they just fuck out of nowhere, man. And it's just like, alright, when did this happen? Alright, we gotta stop at the first bridge. We gotta stop at the first bridge. Oh, okay. God. And then she, like, gets exploded. Her fucking husband, Buntaro? Buntman. He's like, I don't like Blackthorn. And that's about the gist that we get to it. There's a little bit of stuff going on, but then it's, like, dropped. And then he doesn't even fucking... we don't even get him, like... reacting to his wife's fucking death. It's just insanity. Where am I at? Alright. And we also get that Blackthorn does give the knowledge and information to Toranaga that Portugal has this thing that says that they claim Japan. It's like, that's fucking stupid, by the Pope and all that. And Toranaga does pretty much nothing with it, and actually does a kind of treaty thing with them to get Anjin-san, Blackthorn, and says that he's going to build a cathedral for him. And it's just like, what are the repercussions for this? Wouldn't you just, like, fuck with them? And the thing is, we get this whole thing that Portugal's got this, like, black shit that's supposed to be taking, like, millions and millions of untold wealth from the Japans, and it's supposed to have, like, the 3-decker fucking cannon ship thing, and that dude's captain is just a tool that gets killed at the end because he was being a dick, and Rodrigo gets charged with it, but it's actually just the same as the Erasmus, and the Erasmus gets destroyed, and then Rodrigo kind of goes off, and we learn that Toranaga destroyed the Erasmus so that way he could keep Blackthorn there, and that he's tasked Blackthorn with building ships similar to those ships, and that he's going to keep destroying it, and he's going to be the Shogun, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, we don't get enough of Toranaga's maneuvering and everything for most of the stuff to make sense, because Ishido's trying to get this, like, council thing together, but then people are going back and forth and leaving the council and fucking off and dying. We get ninja assassins and shit. And then Toranaga eventually gets asked by the Emperor to be the Shogun, which is like the military commander. And this is supposed to be like the beginning of the Tokugawa Shogunate, which is like one of the most important kind of eras in Japanese history. And it's just, oh god. Like, they got good actors. The content is just like, oh my god. And there's a lot of dead space where I know they're trying to establish shots or whatnot, or establish things of kind of like scenery and all that, but it just reminded me of the Zack Snyder cut, where it's like, yeah, I understand that you're trying to get me into what's kind of going on, but it's just dead space to me, and it's not really that well done. It's just like, alright. Let's see. We needed more with Rodriguez and Blackthorn, because there's definitely a good seed there. And there was a lot of the relationship had really good seeds as well. Except for, like, Omi and this, like, prostitute lady. That came out of nowhere. He's like, I love you. And then fucking Toranaga gives Blackthorn her contract, and then he just gives it to him. He's like, I don't give a shit. Just whatever. I did like the respect that Rodriguez and Blackthorn had for each other, and I wish they had done a little bit more on. That was actually the best kind of done relationship throughout the series. But most of it is I would have liked more information on any kind of other characters. I know Blackthorn is our anchor character, and I don't really have that much of a problem with it. But he's the one that gets the most kind of fleshed out of understanding the world, kind of going through it, rising in the ranks, and so on and so forth. But they just repeat shit like nothing going on. And one of his people fucking goes crazy and fucking dies, whereas Blackthorn pretty much acted crazy to get Toranaga out of Osaka Castle. So, I wanted to do this to see what this was about into Japan. I like seeing different kind of media and everything. I do have to rewatch like Seven Samurai and do that at some point because I did enjoy that one. That's a long one, but that was more enjoyable than this. And because they're doing the series in 2024, and I want to see how they do it versus this one. I hope that they do it episodically and that we have decent paced ones and that the characters are better done. We'll see. I liked kind of the trailer of what was going on, and this had potential, but it is bogged down by just, at least in this one, it is not well edited and it is not well cut up. There aren't really good stopping points. That was the biggest kind of issue I had when trying to go with this. And the thing is, they got actors, and you've got intriguing things that you can delve into, but they just don't do it. And it's just like, okay, the costuming, and kind of production values were like, okay, even though the ships and trying to show them in naval battle was like, of course it's 1980. You're not going to get much out of it. Would I recommend this? As long as you know what you're getting into when you watch it, I would honestly just recommend the new series to pretty much check out, or maybe read the novel that this is based on. I have not read the novel. I will have to look into it, but sweet baby Jesus, man. This is a slog. You'd have to be ready for it, and if you like this, that's fine. That's cool. I mean, I liked Richard Chamberlain and Toshiro Mifune, and how they did what they did with these roles. That's not really the issue. The issue is just trying to figure out how to get through this, because you trying to get in the time to sit down for 3 hours at a clip to go through with it. It's like, holy fucking shit. Better kind of bite-sized chunks, especially because there's a lot of stuff that happens that you really don't have much going on. You're just like, oh yeah, you're in love. You're gonna keep fucking until the first bridge, and the first bridge comes, and you're not gonna do it anymore. Alright. And then they're just looking at each other over their horses. It's like, I don't give a fucking shit anymore. I'm fine with characters doing these kinds of things and what can kind of ensue from it and taking your time with it, but the pacing was just like, I'm out! I've already been here for 2 hours. Can we move, please? Ugh. So, action scene wise, you're not really going to get much until the Ishido cast, Ishido's attack with the ninja, and that's about it. Character-wise, Blackthorn, Rodriguez, Alvido a little bit, and Toranaga doing his shit. That's about it. Then you're just going to have to try and, beat your way through, the rest of the hours. So, this one's an iffy one. Look into it, and it's really hard. It depends upon who you are, if you would be into this or you wouldn't be into it. It's... if you're into the plot, I would say that it's been better executed, and you'd probably find better things looking into a similar period in Japan, the same period in Japan, done in a better kind of way, because you don't really get much. The stuff that you kind of want to know is mainly in the background and not really done upon, and then you just see Blackthorn pretty much just fumbling through what's kind of going on. This was a weird one. I don't really completely hate it, but there's a lot of problems that keep me from enjoying it, and that's kind of the rub. And again, if you like this and enjoy this, cool, awesome. There are good things to enjoy out of this. It's just, it was a lot different than I'd remembered seeing it on certain kind of things, and I'm definitely more intrigued to see how the next series kind of goes with this. So those are my opinions on the mini-series. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.